Good morning and welcome to First Unitarian Church of Toledo. We welcome you to our online service and we hope to see you all in person next week at our outdoor socially distanced picnic where food will be provided at 1 p.m.
For our announcements today, I want to start with this arrived in the mail this past week. You might have gotten a letter too. If you didn't get one, please contact the office and say you'd like one. Let me open it up and see what's in it. This is, oh look, it's a letter from myself and Sandra. And on the back, a letter from Chris Stockwell and Mike Davison. This is our annual stewardship drive letter. And we have a page of trivia on both sides of the page about the church that you might be interested in, and a new pledge form. Please check your mailboxes if you didn't get one, and you can contact the office and ask for a pledge packet as well, and be on the lookout for a telephone call from a member of our stewardship committee as we're trying to contact everybody this year to personally talk a little bit about our church and, of course, stewardship. And that leads us to a picnic.
Yes, absolutely. So that just as announced, the picnic is next Sunday at 1 p.m. Food will be provided, but please bring your own chair. We'd love to see you all outdoors and socially distant.
And
on Monday, there's a special Universal Worship Peace Day celebration. That's Monday tomorrow, September 21st, the actual Peace Day at 6 p.m. on Zoom, streamed live to the Multi-Faith Council Facebook page. If you wish to show support for the dedication of the Multi-Faith Council First Unitarian Church of Toledo Peace Bowl by attending on Zoom, please email me for the Zoom link. I'm in the directory.
We invite you today, as every week, to join us for a virtual coffee hour immediately after the service. We will have that Zoom meeting code and password available to you either in the FYI or on the screen as we wrap up our service. We hope to see you there. Visitors always warmly welcomed.
And now let's get to our Sunday service with opening words. These are by Lao Tzu, if there is to be peace. If there is to be peace in the world,
There must be peace in the nations.
if there is to be peace in the nations,
There must be peace in the cities.
if there is to be peace in the cities,
There must be peace between neighbors.
if there is to be peace between neighbors,
There must be peace in the home.
if there is to be peace in the home,
There must be peace in the heart.
For today's chalice lighting, we have words by John Howland Lathrop. We seek peace, enduring peace. More than an end to war, we want an end to the beginning of all wars. Yes, an end to this brutal, inhuman, and thoroughly impractical method of settling the differences between governments. The only limit to our realization of tomorrow will be our doubts today. Let us move forward with a strong and active faith.
and please join me in reciting our covenant. We have the words on the screen. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And let's begin our singing today with hymn number 1054 from the Teal hymnal, if you have that at home. This is called Let This Be a House of Peace.
Let this be a house of peace, of nature and humanity, of sorrow and elation. Let this be our house, a haven for the healing, an open room for question and all our inspiration. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of freedom, guardian of dignity and worth held deep inside us. Let this be our house, a platform for the free voice, where all our sacred differences here shall not divide us. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this holy house of prophecy may vision for our children be our common theme. Let this be our house of myth and lore and legend, our trove of ancient story, cradle of our tender dreams. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of
Tomorrow is the United Nations International Day of Peace. In this 75th year of existence for the UN, though its Day of Peace began in 1981, so this is the 40th one observed. It seems to be a fitting time for us to have a peace service. Not that it's unusual for us, as we often speak of peace, and we do center services on individual peace, world peace, peaceful presence, and peace of mind. While today's service was being planned, Judy Troutman contacted me about donating a peace pole for our church grounds. Last year, you might remember, I spoke about all of us donating a very small amount to collectively have the funds to get a peace pole. Well, Judy is donating a pole to our church and the Multi-Faith Council of Northwest Ohio, and it will be planted on our church grounds. We have the pole here in the sanctuary today. While we speak words of peace to dedicate this sign and symbol to the work of First Unitarian, the Multi-Faith Council, to all of us, saying in the words on the pole that are written in 8 languages, I'll spin the pole so you can see them, in 8 languages. There we are. May peace prevail on earth. It's kind of like a meta meditation, isn't it? Sending the thought of peace throughout the world. Let's hear some words on peace from the United Nations, from May Peace Prevail on Earth International, the makers of the peace pole, from the Multi-Faith Council, and from Unitarian Universalism.
Each year, the International Day of Peace is observed around the world on the 21st of September. The UN General Assembly has it as a 24-hour period of nonviolence and ceasefire. The 2020 theme is Shaping Peace Together. This year, it has been clearer than ever that we are not each other's enemies. Rather, our common enemy is a tireless virus that threatens our health, security, and very way of life. That is why UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for a global ceasefire. But there is also more to peace than putting aside arms. True peace depends on societies being inclusive, healthy, and economically stable. It requires a predictable climate, an unpolluted environment, and solidarity across community lines. In these difficult times of physical distancing, this International Day of Peace will be dedicated to fostering dialogue and collecting ideas. The world will be invited to unite and share thoughts on how to weather this storm, heal our planet, and change it for the better. Even though we may not be able to be physically next to each other, we can still dream together. Celebrate the day by spreading compassion, kindness, and hope in the face of the pandemic. Align with the UN against attempts to use the virus to promote discrimination or hatred. Help to shape peace together. You can speak up on social media to challenge misconceptions and express support for those who need it. You can research volunteering opportunities to assist the most vulnerable members of society. And you can tell your political leaders to keep peace and human dignity front and center as they fight the pandemic. May peace prevail on earth.
Peace poles are planted or displayed to plant the positive thought of may peace prevail on earth. A peace message and prayer in the minds and consciousness of the global community. And there is a peace pole at the United Nations in New York. Each peace pole bears the message, "May peace prevail on earth," in different languages on each of its sides. The pole we are dedicating today shows 8 languages. May Peace Prevail on Earth International was founded in Japan more than 50 years ago, and today it is based at the World Peace Sanctuary in the foothills of the Berkshire Mountains in upstate New York. The universal message for world peace, May Peace Prevail on Earth, was authored in 1955 by the late Masahisa Goi of Japan. In a moment of great inspiration, Masahisa Goi awakened to the need to spread this message in the hearts of the global community for the attainment of inner and outer peace. In 1976, the idea of placing the peace message and prayer on poles began to gain popularity. The first peace pole is at Holy Hill, Japan, and peace poles began to appear in towns and cities around the world in the early 1980s. More than 250,000 peace poles from May Peace Prevail on Earth International and other makers have been planted by supporters the world over in every region and continent on Earth. Peace poles are now the most recognized monument dedicated to peace on Earth. They represent the highest aspirations of peace and goodwill inherent in the human heart, transcending race, religion, and creed. Peace poles are planted to uplift, empower, and elevate the human consciousness to embrace the oneness of our global family. May peace prevail on earth.
One of my favorite Sufi quotes by Hazrat Inayat Khan is about peace. I will transliterate it for more gender-inclusive language. We must first create peace in ourselves if we desire to see peace in the world. For lacking peace within, none of our efforts can bring any result. The main mission of the Multi-Faith Council is one of local peace building. The covenant of the Multi-Faith Council is, I vow to consciously grow in the understanding and compassion that will encourage me to live peaceably with all of my neighbors. We are blessed to live in a richly diverse community. My late husband, Woody Troutman, saw that we were not always inclusive of that diversity. Even interfaith organizations were not truly diverse in their faith representation. As a retired professional engineer, he wanted to fix that. So he dreamed of an organization that would welcome all faiths and none. He dreamed that we would mingle and chat together to replace fear of the unknown with mutual respect. He dreamed of celebrating differences while finding common ground. He dreamed that we would fellowship together and work together in engaged community service. I met him in 2002 and offered to help, which meant that Woody had me on every committee, whether they wanted me or not. On January 1st, 2003, we co-founded the Multi-Faith Council of Northwest Ohio. In March of that year, we were married in this church when it was on Collingwood Boulevard in a multi-faith wedding with 8 faiths represented in the ceremony. That same year, we started the first of our 6 multi-faith Habitat for Humanity builds, held our second of now 18 annual banquets, held some of the now over 100 education programs, held the first of our many multi-faith picnics, and several other small social events. When Woody died a little over 4 years ago, his last words to the council and to the community were, push on, and we do. Looking back over the 17 plus years that the Multi-Faith Council has been a central part of my life, I realized we did not build just an organization, we built a multi-faith family. One of the most significant initiatives of MFC is the official designation of Greater Toledo Compassionate Community, the first region in the Compassionate City movement, which now has over 200 ongoing initiatives in almost 50 countries. We have played the Compassion Games, a co-opetition in which cities document compassionate activity between 9/11 and 9/21 International Peace Day, and the 2020 Compassion Games are in progress today. We have always ranked one or two in at least one of the categories. Last year, we were tops in the world, but everyone wins. We have held many Peace Day celebrations. During several of them, we have honored an existing peace pole or planted one co-sponsored by MFC. We have planted peace poles at the University Church, the Hindu Temple, and Congregation B'nai Israel. We carried a portable peace pole borrowed from the local chapter of the Association of United States Catholic Priests to all 9 events of our November Parliament of the Northwest Ohio Religions. This year, I decided to fulfill a long dream and gift a peace pole to the Multi-Faith Council and First Unitarian Church of Toledo. It is here in the sanctuary for this service and will be dedicated today, and in a Facebook Live Universal Worship service tomorrow, the actual International Peace Day at 6 p.m. The pole has the words, "May peace prevail on earth," in English, Arabic, Lakota, Hebrew, Hindi, French, Hawaiian, and Spanish. There is a dedication plaque inscribed in memory of Woody Troutman, 1920 to 2016. Later this week, our grounds crew will plant the peace pole in the yard of First Unitarian, where we can all enjoy it and meditate our piece of peace. We each have a P-I-E-C-E of peace, P-E-A-C-E. And if we each add our piece to peace, we may be able to help make it a reality in our lives and in our community. May peace prevail on earth.
For 200 years, Unitarians and Universalists have worked to build peace by removing the underlying causes of war. Though we have always held diverse views on the justification of defensive and humanitarian wars, at our best, we have worked together to end the violence of slavery, to promote international law, to liberate Jews and others from Nazi tyranny, and to build the United Nations and other institutions of international cooperation. In 2010, the Unitarian Universalist Association, at its annual General Assembly, made a statement of conscience on creating peace. Let me read from it. We believe all people share a moral responsibility to create peace, mindful of both our rich heritage and our past failures to prevent war, and enriched by our present diversity of experience and perspective. We commit ourselves to a radically inclusive and transformative approach to peace. Our commitment to creating peace calls us to the work of peace building, peacemaking, and peacekeeping. We advocate a culture of peace through a transformation of public policies, religious consciousness, and individual lifestyles. At the heart of this transformation is the readiness to honor the truths of multiple voices from a theology of covenant grounded in love. We all agree that our initial response to conflict should be the use of nonviolent methods. Yet we bear witness to the right of individuals and nations to defend themselves and acknowledge our responsibility to be in solidarity with others encountering aggression. Many of us believe force is sometimes necessary as a last resort, while others of us believe in the consistent practice of nonviolence. We repudiate aggressive and preventive wars, the disproportionate use of force, covert wars, and targeting that includes a high risk to civilians. We support international efforts to curtail the vast world trade in armaments and call for nuclear disarmament and abolition of other weapons of mass destruction. We repudiate unilateral interventions and extended military occupations as dangerous new forms of imperialism. In an interdependent world, true peace requires the cooperation of all nations and peoples. For Unitarian Universalists, the exercise of individual conscience is holy work. Conscientious discernment leads us to engage in the creation of peace in different ways. We affirm a range of individual choices, including military service and conscientious objection, whether to all wars or particular wars, as fully compatible with Unitarian Universalism. For those among us who make a formal commitment to military service, we will honor their commitment, welcome them home, and offer pastoral support. For those among us who make a formal commitment as conscientious objectors, we will offer documented certification, honor their commitment, and offer pastoral support. Our faith calls us to create peace, yet we confess that we have not done all we could to prevent the spread of armed conflict throughout the world. At times, we have lacked the courage to speak and act against violence and injustice. At times, we have lacked the creativity to speak and act in constructive ways. At times, we have condemned the violence of others without acknowledging our own complicity in violence. We affirm a responsibility to speak truth to power, especially when unjust power is exercised by our own nation. Too often we have allowed our disagreements to distract us from all that we can do together. This statement of conscience challenges individual Unitarian Universalists, as well as our congregations and association, to engage with more depth, persistence, and creativity in the complex task of creating peace. Our peace pole will be placed on the church grounds so that we can see it, carry the message in our thoughts and actions, and create peace. It will be a fitting place for solo meditation and group ceremonies, and it represents a message we want to show the world. May peace prevail on earth. Let's everybody say, may peace prevail on earth. Now for our story time, more about peace. We've had a peace pole dedicated in today's service, and tomorrow is the United Nations International Day of Peace. You know that there are many ways to show that you're a peace-loving person. For the picture on today's order of service, I put a photo of our peace flag that is in our entryway. There are a few stories of why the peace symbol looks like that. The most common is that in semaphore, which is kind of a flag code that is used in the military and other areas, if a person signals the N and D, you see that shape because they hold flags like this and like this and you have the person standing as the center line. The N and D stand for nuclear disarmament, trying to reduce the number of world-killing weapons that countries have. In the 1960s and 70s, some people used the hand signal that in World War II signaled victory to make it mean peace. So many people now call it the peace sign. It's a wish of many that we have peace instead of war. So adapting that war-related gesture was a way to make peace, maybe. In some churches, at their Sunday services, they have the passing of the peace, in which a leader will say, "May the peace of the Lord be with you." And the congregation responds with, "And also with you." And then people greet one another. Before COVID, it was with a handshake, a hug, or even a kiss. That was kind of like our congregational greeting, but with regular words of peace. And people wish each other's peace in public, which you might see most clearly with Muslims who say in Arabic, "Peace be with you." And the person replies also in Arabic, "And with you, peace." Remember the words of our peace poll, and you can say them as a greeting too. "May peace prevail on earth." That's a good wish. Peace to you.
Deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the flowing air. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace to you. Deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the flowing air. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace to you. Deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the flowing air. Deep peace of the shining stars. Deep peace to you.
Now, please join me for a time of meditation, contemplation, and prayer. Much has happened in the past week, but I think what especially hits so many of us very hard is the loss of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a justice of the Supreme Court of the United States who stood for so much, who was such an advocate of women's rights, of human rights, and who often had to dissent from cases in order to make her view, which was held by many, known in the record. and be a kind of instruction to future courts if these things come up for reconsideration. And of course, politics has entered it very heavily right now, and people are of different opinions as to what should happen. We will see that play out however it plays out. But we can hope that Ruth Bader Ginsburg's memory will be honored, and that it is up to so many of us to continue to work toward what she worked for and not let that go by the wayside without her involvement. And it is in this time of Rosh Hashanah as well that Ruth Bader Ginsburg has died. And that was her religion, Judaism. So that in itself is special in a way. And according to some stories, it makes her a special person for dying right at Rosh Hashanah, to know that she really was a treasured human being on this earth. For our words of meditation today, I have love versus hate from the Dhammapada, followed by a peace prayer adapted from the Upanishads. Never does hatred cease by hating in return.
Only through love can hatred come to an end.
Violence breeds hatred.
The conquered dwell in sorrow and resentment.
They who give up all thought of victory or defeat,
May be calm and live happily at peace.
let us overcome violence by gentleness.
Let us overcome evil by good.
Let us overcome the miserly by liberality.
Let us overcome the liar by truth.
Lead me from death to life, from falsehood to truth. Lead me from despair to hope, from fear to trust. Lead me from hate to love, from war to peace. Let peace fill our heart, our world, our universe. Peace, peace, peace. Let's observe a minute of silence.
The reading this morning is by Gloria Anzaldúa. Empowerment comes from ideas. Our revolution is fought with concepts, not with guns, and it is fueled by vision. By focusing on what we want to happen, we change the present. The healing images and narratives we imagine will eventually materialize.
In our Peace Poll dedication, I focused on a Unitarian Universalist Association statement of conscience from 10 years ago. I'll add to that background with some supporting words on the statement from the Creating Peace webpage. The history of American Unitarian and Universalism's focus on peace goes back more than 2 centuries. And we have always made room for different perceptions of war, peace, and how to achieve some type of harmony. As early as 1790, Universalists gathered in Philadelphia declared, although a defensive war may be considered lawful, yet we believe that there is a time coming when the light and universal love of the gospel shall put an end to all wars. The Massachusetts Peace Society, founded by Unitarians Noah Worcester and William Ellery Channing during the War of 1812, helped launch the first peace movement to include both those repudiating all violence and those supporting defensive wars, to welcome members of all religious persuasions, and to affirm that nonviolence is humanly possible as well as divinely commanded. Since that time, Unitarian and Universalist peace efforts have continued to be informed by those principles, by finding common ground within diversity. Our attention to peace also has a firm base in Unitarian Universalist theology. It follows several principles, not just our Unitarian Universalist 7 principles and 6 sources, though our pursuit of peace includes the inherent worth and dignity of all persons, our first principle, the fundamental unity and interdependence of all existence, our 7th principle, and the transforming power of love, which is mentioned in the 2nd source of our living tradition. The website for Creating Peace states that the statement of conscience was developed by including principles of human freedom. Most human beings are free moral agents with the capacity to make choices and are accountable for these choices. Human freedom may be used creatively or destructively. These possibilities are expressed not only in our individual choices and actions, but also in the institutions and social structures we create. Peace is the product of human choices that empower human agency and extend the possibilities for human freedom. Rejection of moral dualism. We reject as false the sharp separation of good and evil, refusing to assign individuals and nations into one category or the other. Moral dualism can blind us to our own and our nation's capacity for evil and to the inherent worth and dignity of those whom our nation labels as enemies. In the midst of ambiguity, we can build peace by cultivating the goodness in ourselves and others. Cooperative power. Power is created and expressed in complex networks of human relationships. Power can be used to create or destroy, to liberate or oppress. Preventing war and creating nonviolent alternatives require the use of cooperative power. Power with, not power over. Cooperative power is grounded in a commitment to mutual persuasion rather than coercion. Justice and peace. Justice concerns the fair ordering of human relationships, including social and political relationships. War signals the breakdown of fairly ordered human relations. Peace is an attribute of relationship. It is a process, not a stagnant state. Peace emerges as our social and political institutions become more cooperative and more just. Lasting peace rests on just relationships. And humility and open-mindedness. We affirm an open-mindedness that makes us suspicious of all claims of finality, including our own. Humility allows us to take strong stands while remaining open to the possibility that we are wrong or that future circumstances may call for a different position. The statement's calls to action include several covenants for creating peace in our world by supporting the Unitarian Universalist United Nations office in advancing the United Nations efforts in promoting peace and its implementation of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Supporting the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee in ending the use of torture and addressing institutional violence in all its forms. Supporting the Unitarian Universalist Association and our congregations in influencing public policy decisions made by the U.S. Congress and administration, and participating in international civilian peace building, peacemaking, and unarmed peacekeeping teams. In covenanting for creating peace in our society, language includes supporting association and congregational initiatives aimed at eradicating all forms of cultural, political, and economic oppression, supporting the socially responsibility investment of our association and congregational assets, and supporting Unitarian Universalist Ministry for Earth in advocating lifestyles and policies that promote harmony with our natural environment. Creating peace in our congregations is also presented with covenantal language for developing peace teams to provide training in compassionate communication and conflict resolution, and to engage each congregation in multi-level action toward a culture of peace. Working through congregational governing bodies to develop and honor behavioral covenants in all aspects of congregational life. Working through our lifespan religious education structures to provide workshops on conflict resolution and compassionate communication, to encourage understanding and participation in social justice ventures, and to utilize Unitarian Universalist resources such as Peacemaking in Congregations, a guide to learning opportunities for all ages. Becoming a resource for creating peace within our communities in cooperation with other faith traditions and community organizations. Working toward the reduction of violence in our communities by supporting community policing, economic development, and conflict resolution. Supporting veterans, military service members, conscientious objectors, and their families, and providing them with opportunities to share what they have learned. And supporting nonviolent resistors and their families, and providing them with opportunities to share what they have learned. The statement of conscience even gets to individual peace, creating peace in our relationships, with a covenant to learn and practice the skills of compassionate communication, honor the behavioral covenants of our congregations, and adopt lifestyle changes that reflect reverence for the interdependent web of all existence. And creating peace within ourselves, saying, we recognize that peace begins with each person and covenant to develop for ourselves and our congregations spiritual practices that cultivate inner peace, sustain those practices as foundational to wholeness, forgiveness, and reconciliation, and practice loving kindness and compassion toward ourselves, and pay attention to the ethical insights that follow. In reverence for all life, the covenanting session concludes. We covenant to practice peace at all levels of human interaction. So, in addition to saying, may peace prevail on earth, we might all think about adding, and within us all. These really are times of national unrest, not so peaceful responses to intended peaceful protests, and much grief that is aggravated by politics and extreme worldviews. COVID-19 might have moved some of us with more wisdom away from the crowds, but we haven't been removed from the world. We know the need to vote for the future of our nation and planet. We must take action against racist-oriented aggression and partisan control, and we need to show that the world can change for the better peacefully. Do your part with peace, love, and understanding, and be part of the change that Ruth Bader Ginsburg tried to make. So be it. May peace prevail on earth and within us all.
Thank you so much. We've come to our offering time. We again remind you to check the mail for those stewardship packets. And if you're so moved today to be involved in our virtual offering or by sending something in the mail, that information is available on the screen. You can find our Glendale address or our website, uutoledo.org. There are many ways to give, and we appreciate having your contributions in our community.
Now, our coming soon part. Next week, it's the 10 o'clock Spiritual Adventures Forum, has a speaker from the Children's Rights Coalition to speak with us by Zoom. So look forward to that. Then at 11 o'clock, the service title is Remorse. It is a Yom Kippur oriented service. And next week, there's something after the service too, isn't there?
Absolutely. We have our stewardship picnic next week. Food will be provided. That chair would be yours to bring. But do remember that there's a mini auction involved, and we'd love to have your continued support. It's a nice opportunity to see folks, stay safe, and support your community. Also, remember to join us for coffee hour immediately after the service. That meeting code and password is available on the screen and will be available again. It's in your FYI. If you haven't been with us before, please take a minute to join. We'd love to see new faces.
Our closing words are by Olympia Brown. We can never make the world safe by fighting.
Every nation must learn that the people of all nations are children of God and must share the wealth of the world.
You may say this is impracticable, far away, can never be accomplished, but it is the work we are appointed to do.
Sometime, somehow, somewhere, we must ever teach this great lesson.
And as we send the flame today, we have words by Paul Robeson. I shall take my voice wherever there are those who want to hear the melody of freedom or the words that might inspire hope and courage in the face of despair and fear. My weapons are peaceful, for it is only by peace that peace can be attained. The song of freedom must prevail.
Let's all say one more time. May
May
peace prevail on earth.